if you think to yourself, I'm a 5-star baby, why should I lower my standards? I'm not going to lower my standards. These are my standards. And everybody will either come up to these standards or they won't. And that's okay. I'm not mad at them, but this is my standard for myself and this is my standard for the environment.
Welcome to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg.
We are live from the Ben Reinberg I Own It studios today in Laguna Beach, California. And today we have an incredible mystery guest. And some people would say it's almost impossible to bring this guy on. And high five to you. What a pleasure it is. But, he has an incredible story. Okay. He started as a hotel night manager for all you folks out there. And you're going to know who I'm talking about shortly. To becoming an executive. He's a business fixer, a founder, and a TV host, and a dear friend. Anthony Melchiorri, thank you and welcome to the I Own It show. We appreciate you spending time with us on a Monday. What a privilege.
Well, I'll tell you something. When we met in Vegas and we were doing a podcast together, I think it took us all about 3.2 seconds to fall in love.
Yeah, the bromance was very quick. And I think that's what God did is he put two phenomenal people together and it's a start of a great relationship. Let's roll back and take us back and share how you got started in the hospitality industry. I want my audience to really hear what an incredible story you are, Anthony.
Well, when I was a little kid, my dad died. And long story short, we didn't have enough money really to put me through college. So I joined the military. And my uncle, in quotation marks, had a little hotel that we would go to from time to time in Florida. And everybody wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or policeman. And I didn't know what I wanted to be. And I guess I'd go in the hotel business. But I didn't he didn't talk to me about the hotel business. I was like, I guess I'll go in there. I'll do that. And then I went in the military and I was like, I better get some experience in the hotel business if that's what I want to do. I knew nothing about the hotel business. I may have been to matter of fact, maybe his hotel was the only hotel I've ever been to up until I got in the hotel business. And so I worked in the Air Force. And then the weekends I would go to Overland Park, Kansas, where I would work in the Embassy Suites on I-70. And at night I went to school to get my bachelor's degree on base. So when I got out, I had hotel experience, I had a bachelor's degree, and I had military experience. So I had military bearing. But there was a phone call that I made this changed everything for me, to Embassy Suites that was being built in Times Square. From Honduras, because I was attached to a base for the last 6 months in Honduras, to get a job as a front desk clerk. And I was persistent. And back in the day in 1990, when you were putting quarters in, you were spending most of your pay to make this phone call. So finally, I just got fed up and said, hey, this is the 15th phone call I'm making. Am I going to get the job or am I going to get an interview? And the woman recognized my name. And she realized that my brother was helping build her house. And then she got me on the phone with Drew Schlesinger, who's the general manager. And he said, I heard you're a pain in the ass. I said, I heard that too. And he goes, would you like to be night manager? And I said, I was just looking for a front desk clerk job. I said, absolutely. And first day in the construction zone, I was wearing a suit and everybody else was wearing jeans. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, you're that guy. So I tell that story for persistence, right? And then, my career, from the different things I did, my career took off. But it was just that persistence of, and I'm not like, don't take no for an answer kind of guy, because I do take no for an answer because I'm not a great salesperson. But in that instance, when it came to starting my career, I needed a job.
You know what's amazing about wearing a suit is that when you wear a suit, and I used to wear a 3-piece suit all the time at my office at Alliance when we were in Chicago, is the rest of your staff and people around you start elevating their game. It's amazing how you wear a suit, you wear a tie, maybe you're rocking a vest, and you're wearing a beautiful suit today, and I appreciate it. It just elevates, it inspires me and elevates me. And it's just, if anyone doesn't know Anthony, he's got such a class look to him. And for all you business people and leaders out there, especially when you're younger, when you can rock a suit, you will see people will treat you differently too. There's something about it that has this elegance. And so it's such a great example of what you do. One of the things you do really well is pivot. And in business, pivoting is so important. You've managed a lot of iconic hotels, including in New York City and the Nickelodeon Hotel and Resort. Anthony, I've always wanted to ask you this. I imagine each of these hotels is unique and can't be managed with the same standard playbook. You have to adjust and pivot in every situation. Is that an accurate statement? And what are some stories that you find are very unique challenges you've faced with all these different hotels you've managed?
Well, whether it be the Plaza Hotel, and I was the director of operations, the front office, or the general manager Lucerne, general manager Algonquin, or director of Nickelodeon. Actually, Nickelodeon was in Orlando, or asset manager. There's one thing you know about the playbook. There is no playbook. You know, I always say, and not to take away from a Four Seasons or a Ritz-Carlton, which I love, but you take a person that's been in a Ritz-Carlton and Four Seasons for 30 years, and then you throw at them an iconic hotel with no playbook and no brand, they're going to have to take a minute and take their breath. And there's plenty of people that can do it, but it's a different skill set. You know, I never had a playbook. I never had a brand over me. It was just like, hey, we're losing $200 million in this hotel. We heard you're crazy and you're good at building teams. Can you do it for us? And I've been fortunate that I've been able to do it. But the key is the owner ready for it, right? It's like I always call people that come before me in hotels that were hard to turn around stunt doubles. Because if I would have come in when they came in, I'd have been their stunt double. You know, they have to be ready for it. And typically they're ready for it when they've taken their best shot and their best shot didn't work. And then I come in and we listen to the walls, we listen to the brick, we listen to the foundation, and we say, what is this hotel? What is this hotel? What was it? What does it want to be? And we go from there and we build a great team and we have high expectations. And I always say anytime I take over a failing hotel or failing business, the first 3 months, I don't want your opinion. If I do, I'll ask for it. I'll give it to you. After the 3 months, by then, I basically hired all the people who are smarter than me. And then I ask their opinion and I get out of their way. But to be able to pull the Band-Aid off and kind of what, Deion Sanders is doing now in Colorado, people say, well, yeah, he's got a whole new team. Well, what do you think? He's going to go in there and build a program that was 1 in whatever and not get a new team? He needs a new team. And now it's him. So if it doesn't go well, go in the right direction, you can't blame anyone but yourself. And that's what I always loved about going in and turning around something. Once I help change it and I bring on a great team, it's mine. And if I fail, it's mine. And if I succeed, it's ours.
If everyone doesn't know, Anthony is the star on the Travel Channel, former TV show Hotel Impossible. You are the fixer coming to address big challenges. And what kind of problems, Anthony, do hotels typically face from your vast experience? And how are you able to help them turn things around?
Owners have a cloudy picture of the operation. Employees don't have the proper tools. And good employees are basically reporting into people who are not good at what they do. I've never been in a hotel or a business where those three things weren't true. It's the owner, it's supplies, and it's usually mid-level supervision. The mid-level supervision screws everything up if they haven't been taught what to do. I was just talking to somebody that had a mid-level manager in the company, in the hotel, who was a senior manager, and they made a mistake that was almost not possible to make. And it was just they were in the wrong position. And that happens all the time. It's like, I don't know how you make that decision. That person isn't capable of making senior leadership decisions. It's not a training thing. And so most of the people around as I develop a business or a hotel are smarter than me. And I say that, I don't say that tongue in cheek. I don't say that to be funny. In what they do, they have a skill that I don't possess. I don't want to possess, or I'm incapable of possessing. And you get those people around you and you treat them well and you treat them with respect and you ask their opinion. It's like a fort, man. They put a fort around you. And when you screw up, they protect you.
Well, how often, Anthony, are these problems about getting the fundamentals right versus things that are harder to solve? I mean, what are some creative solutions that you've come up with in the past?
Oh, my God, there's so many. But there's one that stands out. We were at the Algonquin Hotel, and we were renovating it It was only $3 million soft renovation for almost 200 rooms. We closed the hotel down, the first time it's ever been closed down. And I'll spare you the long story of why I decided to close it down. When we closed it down, there was a rush to reopen in 28 days. All eyes were on us, working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. But as we're getting it open, we didn't have any marketing dollars. So our PR company, who wasn't really doing what I wanted them to do, I basically terminated them, brought them back 2 or 3 times. Finally, they asked to come back. And I said, I need a big idea. And we're going to open the hotel, and I don't have any marketing dollars, so we need a PR push. And I want to be on the front page of the Daily News. I need a lot of push. And after being exasperated with me, the PR woman that we hired, which is the Algonquin Hotel, went down the stairs, said, I'll be right back, went to the ladies' room, came back up, was in a doorway and said, the Algonquin, don't you have a lot of people getting married? I said, sure. And aren't you famous for the martini? I said, yes, we are. And how about we do martini on the rock, which we get a jeweler from, Rockefeller Center. When somebody orders it, we bring them in, they look at the stones, they set it for them, they pay whatever it is. And then when they come in, we put it in the safe. And when they come in with their significant other, they order their martini. They order the martini. We know they're ordering the martini. We bring it to them, and then we serve it to the other person. He gets on his knee or she gets on her knee and says, will you marry me? As simple as that was, and it was almost ridiculously simple, because how many people put a diamond in a drink? Almost, too many times. So it's corny, but there was something about it that clicked with me instantly. And I said, sit down. And she goes, excuse me? I said, sit down. Because she thought I was mad at her. I said, everybody stand up. You stay seated, please. And everybody stand up. I said, give her a standing ovation, because she just put us on the map. 30 years of not being put back on the map, that turned us around. We were on CNN. We won best marketing campaign for a hotel in the world that year. The campaign that won it the year before was What Happens in Vegas Stays in Vegas from the Vegas Convention Bureau. We're to this day, the only boutique single hotel to ever win that award. We were on David Letterman. We were in front of 2 billion eyeballs we generated. Right now, if you look at Trivia Pursuit in the pop culture edition, what is at the bottom of the Algonquin's martini? And it's a diamond. That is a question in Trivia Pursuit. So that was the moment, and it turned everything around. This day, I walked into the hotel, and all the union members are very happy because they never made so much money. So that was the moment where I was desperate, and I needed to get myself out of a corner, and I didn't have the money. And I don't want to do it like, I'm not a guy that does it like slow, because owners don't like slow. They like a return on their investment immediately, and it blew the entire hotel up. And so that was kind of pushing the PR person. And then, real quick story, after we got all this news, and I was on a Sunday, I was about to go in the shower, and China was calling me, China TV. Like somebody from China was interested in it. So that's why I went, wow. So then I called the PR person that night, and I said, okay, we got it. It's all over the place. Now we got to sell one, but we have to sell one, and somebody wants to get married. We can't set this up. And she said to me, she was in a store with a friend, and she goes, what? She goes, I'll call you back. And then basically she tells me later, she cursed me out. And anyway, but she called me back, and she said, I have a friend of a friend that wants to get engaged. I said, bring them down. As long as they're willing to pay for their diamond, we'll do it. And next thing we know, next day they get married. We're on the front page of Daily News, and the whole thing started over. So, that's kind of been my go-to, is what can we do that no one else is there to do? Same thing. Like, how do I market myself? Well, I guess I'll get a TV show.
That's right. Hey, it's worked out. What would be your favorite hotel transformation from the show? When you look back at, 9
seasons, that's from the show. Okay.
I mean, is there one besides that, like, what really stands out? You're like, oh my God, that was an incredible hotel transformation.
Never. I can't say a hotel transformation. I can tell a human transformation. I can tell you when I get emotional just thinking of all the housekeepers and all the employees, like in all 108 episodes, and not all of them, but a lot of them, collide into my memory. From the woman who hocked her ring because her boss wouldn't give her housekeeping department a Christmas party, to the people that had bed bugs in their home and the owner wouldn't, pay to spray it or heat it out. To owners that literally made someone get on their hands and knees because they didn't want to use brooms because they were too expensive, and made them use the same rag for the sink as they did for the toilet, as they did for the floor. The woman had black and blues on her knees. To the woman that was being completely abused and overworked 7 days a week, while this other owner went and did slides in New Jersey every day. She was down on the beach from the water park, and the block from the water park, and she would go on the slides while this woman worked 18 hours a day. So that's what hits me. It's not the hotel. I can care less about the hotel. I care about, are we showing that finally someone's going to engage the owner in a real way and say, if you don't start treating them, they're going to leave and you're never going to turn your hotel around. Then we get to the hotel. So there's been plenty of transformations, but I'm I'm a psycho when it comes to making sure people in the hotel are being respected. And now in our industry, we have a problem because it's like, well, we're known for low wages. Well, a lot of people in our industry make a lot of money, but because at the line level, we kept the line employees at such a low wage, we're feeling it now. And now hotel owners will pay a lot of money to get that same person back in. So I think we shot ourselves in the foot. So we didn't treat our employees, not all the time, and not all the hotels and not all the brands and not all the management companies, but by and large in those middle markets where you can pay $7 an hour for a housekeeper and make them clean 26 rooms and barely give them a lunch, they took advantage of them.
It's so well said, Anthony, because at my company Alliance, we look at that as well, because your personal life bleeds into your business life and vice versa. And we're a people first initiative company, and you have to take care of your people and understand who they are as people on a personal level. And what you do is you look at these folks and you say, and you bring up about employee retention, which is important context, and loyalty, and all these things that people do as business owners and employers, is that the way you treat your people will prevent a lot of issues and challenges as you move forward in your business career. And you see it on his show, and it's such a perfect example of treating people with respect and with love will go a long way to help you increase your bottom line, a better culture at a hotel or within a company. And it's one of the things I admire about you is you go in and you see it and you say, you know what, this isn't right. Let's fix it. And by the way, guess what? When the people are right, the hotel starts improving. It's all a direct correlation.
I've never seen a business go out of business because of the employees. The business goes out of business because of the owner.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true.
And they want it to change, right? I'm never there to embarrass anyone. I'm never there to open their medicine chest. I'm never there for the shock value. It is not a shock value show. Every word that comes out of my mouth, I mean. Everything is unscripted. And just like, I was talking to I'm having breakfast with my longtime assistant tomorrow. Haven't seen her in a couple of years. And when I first got the show, she called me up and she goes, "Boss, when are you going to be real?" I said, "Excuse me?" She goes, "You're a lot more intense than that." I was like, "No, I'm not." She goes, "Yes, you are." And it's just, I don't have a fear of losing my job over protecting people. And that includes the owner. Like, I'll fight with whoever I need to fight with, or not fight, but that's the wrong word, but I'll stand up and hold the line for whatever it is on the employee end or the owner end, because I'm not looking to be right. I am insignificant in the issue. I am a person that's bringing people together. That is all I am. So when I go away, I don't matter. I don't matter. People learn something where things are on the right track. And it doesn't matter. That housekeeper or that bellman that's been there for 35 years has seen me come and go 100 times. If I don't make real impact for them immediately and sincerely and transparently, they're going to call BS on me, and they're going to make my job hard. And I always say, like, when I took over this one big hotel, I got on stage and I said, never ran a hotel with pools, never ran the Nickelodeon hotel, never ran an entertainment hotel, never ran 2,000 or 1,500 rooms, never ran 5 acres, never worked in Florida, don't know the market very well outside of going to Disney. So who better than me to run your hotel? And everybody started laughing because they got the joke. I don't know what I'm doing, but I guarantee you, I will learn what I'm doing, and we'll hold myself accountable as well as the team and you accountable. And people don't mind being held accountable if you're speaking the truth. So that's another thing. It's not just caring and loving people. It's holding them accountable, because holding them accountable is just as important, because as soon as you love and care them and give them what they want and you let them get away with stuff, then everybody else sees that and then you're weak. And once you're weak, it's almost impossible to get that back.
Absolutely. So you've also hosted extreme hotels. And what were some of your favorite places to visit? And what was your favorite on-screen adventure as part of that particular show?
Oh my God, you ask really good questions. Well, I had two things when I was a little boy watching ABC's Wild World of Sports, and you probably remember that.
Absolutely.
And made me want to drive the Autobahn really fast, and made me want to ski Australia. Really, in one trip out there to do 5 different shows in a 13-day period, I was able to do both. And I remember, I have a picture on my Instagram of me standing there with my skis. I look like an Olympic skier, which I'm not. I'm a good skier, but I'm not anywhere. I'm not good. I'm not great. So I have my outfit on, my ski outfit. Oh God, what mountain was in there was a beautiful mountain, a famous mountain right behind me. And I remember taking that picture. And I remember the first time I asked the cameraman to take it, I'm not very anal about take a picture, we'll go. And I just remember going, no. Let me put my helmet down. Let me pick my helmet up. Because that was a moment I've thought about since I'm 6. And same thing with the Autobahn. I was going 170 miles an hour. It's all in the show. And I don't think we had a roll bar, but no roof. And the car was this big. It was like a matchbox. And the owner of the car said, go faster. And I was going 170 miles an hour. As soon as I hit 170 miles an hour and I started to slow down, I was like, I will never, ever, ever do that again. But if I didn't do it, I couldn't die. And because I knew if I hit a pebble, I would have been dead. And so those are the two things that stand out most to me, that I was able to do those two things. And when I was a little boy, not thinking how I would do it, I get emotional thinking about doing that. So yeah, these shows have been everything. I mean, I was able to live a billionaire's life, because I got paid to go and do all these wonderful things. When I did 5-star Secrets and Extreme hotels, when I was, the Hotel Impossible, that was work. These hotels, was like somebody's paying me to do this. That was insane.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Was there a particular hotel that you loved on that show that, you remember like, man, I would stay there like at least a couple times a year if I could? Well,
the 5-star hotels would be the Four Seasons in Maui, the one and only in Cabo, and La Residencia in Mallorca, Spain. The extreme hotels, the Ice Hotel in Sweden, because I was able to see them build it. So what happens is they say 1 year to Harry Potter hotel. So the sculptors come in and they sculpt it, and the whole thing is about Harry Potter. And then it melts. But in the ice season, they cut like ice cubes, big blocks of ice, and they put it in this big freezer, this big warehouse of a freezer, or freezer of a warehouse, whatever you want to call it. And then when it melts, they start building it again and sculpting again. And you sleep. You're only allowed to sleep in the Sweden hotel one night. I guess, I don't know why, but only one night. And I loved it. I loved the cold. And that was unique that they build a hotel every year.
There's a John George steakhouse in the one and only Pavilion in Cabo called Seared. And
okay.
Being from Chicago and you're from New York, obviously we come from big steak places. This is one of the best steakhouses I've been to in the world. What a gorgeous hotel that is, the one and only. So,
yeah, I did a podcast, and I actually just got an invitation to he's doing some kind of anniversary at the Tin building that he has in New York, and I just got invited. I was doing a podcast at the Mark Hotel with the general manager, who's a friend of mine, and Manuel, and John George has a restaurant there, and John George came on our podcast, and I will tell you, I should have been arrested, because I literally, every time I talked to him, I was like touching him and like hugging him. And there's no one I've ever interviewed that I was in awe of, because he's in his restaurants. He's fit as could be. He's beautiful. He's a beautiful man, intellectually, emotionally, and he treats his people well. And I literally could not believe I was sitting next to him. I just couldn't believe it. So yeah, he is. He's the real deal. He is absolutely the real deal.
So let's switch gears. Let's talk about effective leadership is critical in the hospitality sector, as well as any business, especially in commercial real estate. What are some insights on what it takes to lead and motivate a hotel team, Anthony, to consistently provide exceptional guest experiences? Because I know as I travel throughout the world for commercial real estate, that experience to me is what I remember in hotels. I might go to Savannah, Georgia, and there's a certain hotel I like. I might go to Austin, Texas, and have gravitate to a hotel. A lot of us businessmen and women, we love to be able to have that experience. You know, we're going and having a busy work week, or you might be going to a wedding on a personal basis, or you might be going out with your significant other to a hotel. So what do you do to provide that great guest experience?
That's an open-ended question. I can talk about this forever, but it comes down to you have to understand the goal. Because I always say I don't motivate anybody. I give them a nice place to work. I give them standards, and I get out of their way if they're capable. And they motivate. I can't get them up at 9 o'clock in the morning if they don't want to get up. I can't make them work Christmas if they don't want to work Christmas. They'll quit. So you've got to give them the why. Why? Why are we running? I'll give you an example. My first hotel was GM, the Lucerne Hotel. I sat down as soon as I was 29 years old. I have no idea what I was doing. I didn't know where the roof was. I didn't know where anything was. I was clueless. And I remember building a mission statement immediately that we will be the number one hotel in New York City for service. And as soon as I put that on the board, and as soon as I gave everybody a little mission statement and put it in their pockets, and they had to show it to me every time I asked for it. And I always said, what's the most important thing on that card? And it said, any question can be answered, any answer can be questioned. And because that makes you number one in service, if everybody feels safe. So once I said we will be the number one hotel in service, you have to walk the walk, talk the talk, and look the part. When I did Hotel Impossible, I had a very big challenge with myself. What will I wear? And on the pilot, I wore chinos and a regular shirt. And then after seeing the pilot, I go, that doesn't work. I got to wear what I'm comfortable with. And what I'm comfortable in is a suit and a tie. And if it's 100 degrees or if it's 10 degrees, I'm wearing a suit and a tie. And because that's who I am. And if I chase bed bugs, I'll be in a suit and a tie. So the hotel can look like crap, but I'll be in a suit and a tie. So everybody around me feels that. They feel that suit's like almost like armor. You know, when I wear my suits and I make sure they tell it perfect. Because let's start with being the number one hotel. Well, we got to start with the way we look, the way we talk, the way we treat each other. And so you got to know the why. And once you have the why, you have to be able to be kind and you have to be presentable, transparent with people, but you have to hold people accountable because everybody's watching you when you don't. And so to me, anybody's ever worked with me, I don't think the first thing that come to mind would be that he's a nice guy. I think you would say is that he's fair, he's transparent, he has high standards, and he's a nice guy. But that's how you run a business, and that's how you run your household. That's how you run anything. Nobody wants the easy way out, even though they say they want the easy way out. Because when you have the easy way out, what happens? You get mediocrity. And what I say, and I say it in my book, Show Up, that you were born a 5-star baby, whether you're born with special needs or you're born, with not having special needs. When you're born perfect, right? God doesn't make mistakes. You're born a 5-star baby. And then little by little, as you grow, you work at maybe, a department store and nobody really cares and everybody comes in late and people wear their uniform wrong and they don't care. So you immediately start to go from a 5-star baby and you start going down. And before you know it, you're working at mediocre places. Well, if you think to yourself, I'm a 5-star baby, why should I lower my standards? I'm not going to lower my standards. These are my standards. And everybody will either come up to these standards or they won't. And that's okay. I'm not mad at them. But this is my standard for myself, and this is my standard for the environment. We all make mistakes. I always fall below my standard, not always, but sometimes. but the number one priority is why. And so many people don't get the why. The why is not to make Ben more money. The why is not to make Ben more successful. The why is because you want to build a company that you believe in, that people believe in you, and they can buy a nice house. They can buy a nice car. They can put their kids through the college they want. They can have choices. And if they leave you one day to build their business, you'll be happy for them. You'll help them. You'll mentor them. If it was done transparently and if it was done, I just texted somebody that said, I can't believe that you called me, some kid that wanted help. And he goes, I can't believe that you made that call. I was like, why wouldn't I make that call? You want to go in the hotel business? I'm the hotel guy, as they say. Why wouldn't I want to take my Rolodex and my ability to introduce you to people? Why wouldn't I do that? So the why, to answer your question, the why is the most important, and then hold that why. That's the reason we're going to work. Not because of me, it's because of that mission statement, that why. And when I fall short, you got to shove it in my face and go, sir, you told me that I can question this policy, and you just yelled at me or raised your voice or just looked at me crooked. So you're full of shit. And I love that. I love that all of our employees are, whether managers or not, we're all accountable to each other. I have one more thing, because you really set me off on I can go on for 24 hours. When I took over Nickelodeon, there was something in the books that said 10, 4, and more. 10 feet away, you look at them. 4 feet away, you acknowledge them. And then more is you talk to the child about SpongeBob or whatever. And it wasn't being implemented. And I looked at that and I was like, that's the keys to the castle. And so we have this big hotel, and I can see who's saying hello to people and who's not. As soon as we implemented that and held people accountable, including myself, it snapped. And the whole place started turning around.
That's fantastic, because how you lead is everything, and setting that example. And one of the things you talk about your book, Show Up. And I am currently working on my first book. People have asked me to write a book, and I'm working on it. And, you get a lot of aha moments in your life where you learn things about yourself. Mm-hmm. When you wrote that book, what really came out for you that you felt was like a turning point, something that kind of resonated with you when you're writing it, and like, this is why I'm doing this book. This is what I want to get out to the public to give them value and knowledge that I went through. What was it that was?
It was the last story I told my co-writer that became the first story. Mm-hmm. And it was, and I'm going to get emotional about this one too, because
by the way, you got Kleenex over there?
Yeah, I do. I'm an emotional guy, but because you're hitting on things I'm like, you can't fake this, man. This is hard. Whether it be doing a TV show, whether it be doing everything we do is hard. If you don't feel it to your bones and your soul, and it's not in your DNA in a real level, because I don't care about anything else other than making sure that person that we're spending time together, that there's value for both of us. Because I won't waste my time with people that are just wasting my time. But people that aren't wasting my time, I'll spend all the time. So I'll give you an example. And this is critical. This is absolutely critical to my success and growth that I've had in my life. I was, I don't know, in early 30s maybe, and I got a call. It's in the book. And I got a call to go run a hotel for this company. And so I was in the interview process, and I know the company didn't have a good reputation. It had a bad reputation. And I didn't want to go. But I went. And I was interviewed by the owners. And when I was downstairs in the lobby, there was a gentleman that was getting the bellman to clean his car, and he was talking inappropriately to the front desk person. Long story short, I go upstairs and I talk. Did you read the story in the book? I don't know if you read the story in the book.
Go ahead. I don't want to tell it. I want you to tell it. I know the story. Keep going.
Oh, you know the story. Okay.
Yeah, keep going. I love the story. Keep going.
Okay. So I'm in the lobby, and I go upstairs, and I'm being interviewed. And they said, we want you to run this hotel. And I was like, I understand that. And I'm young. And I was like, but I need to fix things from the top, because you have, I think, 8 hotels at the time in the city, and things aren't functioning. And this is the best hotel, and it's still not a hotel that's functioning well. I'll take a position, but the only position I want is to be able to run all the hotels from the office, the corporate office, meaning I want to be the vice president. And I didn't have any experience to do that. And they would look at me and go, why don't you start with one hotel, whatever? So I was like, no, I know myself and I will get fired within a week because I need to help everyone. So the person that had that job, apparently, was the guy that was in the lobby telling the girl inappropriate things and telling the guy to clean his car. And I said, I can't work for him. And they said, why? You don't even know him. I said, because he's a a-hole. And I used the word. And they start laughing. And they're like, well, why do you think that? And I told him. He's like, well, we think the same thing. That's why we need somebody to really come in and help. I was like, but I can't report into him. And they were like, yeah, but he's our a-hole and you have to report into him. I said, no, thank you. 30 years later, or 25 years later, probably 3 years ago, I'm somewhere on the road and my friend, the number one consultant in our industry, one of the most highly regarded human beings on the planet in our industry, texts me and goes, do you hear about so-and-so? And I go, no. He goes, read this article. It's on my text as soon as I wake up. I read the article. And the man was taken out in handcuffs for embezzling like $30 million for the same company that treated him like a son. Enough said. So that made me trust my instincts. That made me trust that if I worked there, I would have gotten fired. I got offered a job at the Waldorf Astoria that I was too young to take, and they offered it to me, and I didn't take it because I knew I wasn't emotionally prepared for it. My point being is trust your instincts. My point being is that turned everything around for me. That changed.
And I want to touch on that, Anthony, because for everyone listening out there, that little inner voice, that intuition, that gut that tells us it's just not a right situation. Maybe it's an environment, maybe it's a relationship, whatever it is, your intuition's that inner voice that's kind of guiding you to where you need to go. And so it's an incredible story because it touches in on instincts. And it's how, for me as a commercial real estate investor, I've always had to work on instincts of the right markets. And I want to touch into this. It kind of transitions into a topic I want to talk to you about. Being in commercial real estate, every week we're assessing locations, different properties, how to feed our new fund, the Alliance Medical Property Fund, with great assets to produce wealth for you and your family. When you're assessing locations for new hotel properties, I've always wanted to ask you this, and I'm surprised I haven't, is I'm curious how you think about, from a real estate investment point of view, of assessing locations.
I would imagine the same in your business, right? You're looking at the market, you're looking at the need. You know, how many times have people say, I want to put this there? And you're like, well, what's the need? It's like, well, if you build it, they will come. That is not always true. That is not always true. If you build a Sphere in Vegas, yeah, they'll come, but everybody's there anyway. Right? So you can't build a Sphere in Iowa in the middle of a cornfield. People aren't going to come. So you have to, one, is there a need? And then in our business, it's really, really, it's almost there for you. Meaning, you go into a market. I've never been to a market where there wasn't 3 or 4 hotels, right? So which ones are they? Days Inn, Red Roof Inn, or whatever. Then you know what market you're in, right? You're probably in a C market. You're probably in a $100 a night market. And so what do you have that you can bring into this market based on the reports that you read, the demographic reports, that is not there already? So is it where people were afraid of this market and you're seeing, because you're looking at your real estate report and you're seeing that Ben just invested in this major medical building complex, and you're like, oh, they didn't see that. You know, one of my asset managers was very smart and they saw that. They didn't see that Salesforce is coming in 3 years when the other hotel or the building is built. Oh, so I can bring in maybe a mid-level hotel. So let me call Hilton or Marriott or whoever, or let me build a regular independent hotel. And that's how you start. You know, you start with what's the need, and then what are they missing? I always talk about upside down thinking. I never start at A. I always start at the bottom. I always start as like, okay, yeah, I know, like intuitively, I know all the things I'm supposed to do, but what are the things I'm not supposed to do? Let's talk about the things that are ridiculous. Let's think about ridiculous things. Let's put a whale training aquarium next to the hotel. Well, that doesn't work, but you just said it out loud. So they didn't get you to the less ridiculous things. And then all of a sudden you have something that somebody else doesn't have.
As you're speaking my language, it's so true. It's due diligence, doing your homework and understanding what outcome you want to do, and then moving it back. So as the vice president of Tishman Hotels, you were responsible for overseeing assets worth over $1 billion at the time. Anthony, what were the key considerations and strategies you applied when managing such a substantial real estate portfolio? I know we at Alliance manage a substantial real estate portfolio around the United States. What are some of your key considerations and strategies?
Well, that portfolio was one hotel. That was the Westin Times Square. And they were opening up the Intercon across the street, but I wasn't there long enough to kind of asset manage that hotel as well. For me, going in not knowing how to be an asset manager and never having that position before because I was an operator, was depending on the person that worked with me, John Paulson, who's in my book. I couldn't have done that job without him. But basically, at the end of the day, when I started to learn my job, the owner and the operator have two different mindsets. The owner is this is a real estate, and this is really difficult for operators. This is really difficult for me. This is a investment. This is a financial investment. That's what this is. For us as operators, this is an emotional thing. This is a breathing, living thing. And not everything is black and white on financials. So being able to tie those two things in together to understand and stand up for the operation, and also tell the operation, well, this is the way it's got to be, and this is why it's got to be this way. So that, again, it gets back to communication and the ability to have influence over a position that you're not in charge from the owner, and you're not really in charge at the hotel because you're the owner's rep. So I was the first time I wasn't used to having complete control. Think about taking a fish out of water and literally watching him for 2 hours. Like, that's how I felt when I first took over. I was like, I can't breathe. I literally can't function because I didn't have control. So learning that systems are control. And as long as you have the right systems, you have the right people, you can kind of be, you can serve both people, both operations. But it's that's how I saw the asset management part of it. It was very much, you have to fight for both sides, and you have to have no skin in the game, not worried about being fired from the owner, and not being worried about not being liked from the operator. This is the right thing for the property, for the dirt, for this building. Because at the end of the day, housekeepers don't have a job if we don't have a building.
Right. It's the same thing in our industry, whether it's a medical property, office building, retail, industrial, whatever our niche that we own throughout the United States is. One, you have to have systems in place. You have to have great people that you could rely on, and you got to delegate to them. But also what's really important in what you said is the ability to bring people together, to create a good team of people that can hit the mission that you're on and focusing on what's our end outcome to achieve what we have. And it goes with anything in real estate, whether it's hotels, multifamily, commercial real estate assets. We do is there are a lot of people involved in these transactions, whether from investor side, investment capital to, in our business, credit investors to lenders to asset and property managers. There's so many people involved in a real estate transaction, especially of these magnitude that you and I play in, is that you have to be able to have a mission, what the outcome is, and be able to bring people together, Anthony. And that's one thing that you excel at. The other thing is, let's talk about your consulting business. Okay. Our Argio Hospitality, because as revenue management is a pivotal aspect of hotel operations. And you founded this company, this hospitality company specializing in revenue management and consultation. Explain to me what principles you emphasize to optimize hotels' revenue. The reason why I ask this is because I always look at our tenants, and I always see, like, how do we increase the credit, the lower the default risk for our tenants in our properties, and I kind of correlate it to you with you managing the hotel's revenue potential. So, explain to me, what are those key principles that you do emphasize?
Well, I wouldn't have opened the revenue management part of the business if I didn't find my partner, who is we're now partners in that business anymore. But when we started it, that my partner was the smartest person I've ever met in the business. Listening to her and listening to her strategies, and she's a lot less emotional than I am, and a lot more intelligent, and was able to really understand complex situations. So, but with owners, when it comes to owners, one of the things you have to do when you're looking at a hotel, and this was again difficult in the beginning when I started out in my business, you got to take the emotion out of it. Does it make money or it doesn't make money? That's it. Does it make money? It doesn't make money. So many times you go into a company or you're consulting or revenue management, whatever you're doing. And they're like, I'll give you an example. I did a hotel in Brooklyn called the Brooklyn Hotel. Great owners, small hotel, helped them from the ground up to build it on kind of was gentrifying area. And they had brick walls and beautiful, spacious rooms. And I go, you know what this is good for? Having these big rooms and these beautiful brick walls. And they said, what? I said, it's good for the guests, but it's not good for your bottom line. Like, no, we're going to get $500 a night. I said, look where we are. Look at the hotel across the street from us. Look at the hotel down the block from us. Look at the market you're serving. No one coming into this market is paying $500 a night for a brick wall and a little bigger room. The 5-star hotel luxury, the Four Seasons or Ritz, you intuitively know that that's the trip I want to take today. I am willing to pay the extra money. I'm willing to pay for a bed and a bathroom that I've seen before, but it's a little bit more luxurious and service is a little bit better. I'm willing to pay for that. When you're talking about a hotel like this, where it was in Brooklyn, and what type of hotel, no one's paying $400 or $500 more a night, and no one did. But we had a beautiful property. We had a beautiful, elegant, and we had number one in service. And when we opened it, it was beautiful. And it did great, but we couldn't get that much more in average rate than our competitors. So explaining that to people, box is a box is a box. And people are only going to pay when you're running 5-star hotels, you're selling a dream. Okay, you're selling a dream. You're not selling a bed. You're selling a dream, and that's a different thing. Like there's a hotel, and I won't mention it, in New York City right now, charging double what the 5-star hotels are charging. So if this one hotel is charging $1,500 a night, they're charging $3,000 a night. And I was so Jones to go see this hotel recently. I was out of my mind. I couldn't wait. And I walked in, and it was like a really nice 5-star hotel in New York that I've been to 5 times. And there's no way on this God green earth that I'm ever going to send somebody there or pay that kind of money for a hotel I can get in its class that's just as good, if not better. So just because you say this is the price doesn't mean people are going to pay it. So that's the biggest learning lesson for an owner. I can go on and on about, there's another hotel that just happened last year. Same thing. We're getting $900. This is just because your consultant before I got here wrote down in the pro forma that they're getting $900 doesn't mean you're getting $900. You got to look at the concept.
So as a father, you've had great success in your career. How do you think about talking to your 3 daughters about money and success?
By example, teenagers don't listen a lot. So now, just by example, and by seeing that, their mom's very frugal, I probably spoil them more when it comes to stuff like that than their mom. But just a great example, hard work. If you're not watching your mother, do everything that she does and goes to work every day. She's a school teacher and she cares about her students. Yesterday, she was doing a million things around the house. She was, doing everything she could for her pre-K class, printing things out and cutting things and gluing things. I played softball and I was done for the day. And so if you're not watching, and again, I told my daughter, I said, guess who was the second oldest person on the team? They know I'm 58. They're like, I don't know, 45. I said, no, 35. So I was older by 23 years than anybody else on the team, and I did well. My point, I said that on purpose because it's like, look what I'm doing at 50. I'm still playing softball with people that look like they belong on the cover of CrossFit. And literally, the other team looked like they belonged on the cover of CrossFit, and they were all there. And I was just like, I didn't strike out, but I could have because everybody was just so beautiful. I was just like, oh my God. And here I am, but I'm still grinding. I'm still diving, still going home with my aches and my pains. So you could say whatever you want. As a matter of fact, my kids haven't read my book. And I said, why haven't you read my book? And they go, because we've lived your book.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Let's talk about COVID a little bit, because your industry, the hotel industry, was really impacted by the pandemic, and the hotel and hospitality industry faced significant challenges, Anthony, as you know. How did you see the future of the hotel industry evolving, and what are the strategies that you recommend for hotels to adapt and thrive in a post-pandemic landscape we have going on?
Well, I was so fortunate because my partner in the podcast business, Glenn Hausman, we were like, hey, let's do a podcast live. And we did immediately, day one of the pandemic, literally. We went live. He had a LinkedIn Live, and then eventually I got LinkedIn Live. And we were doing a podcast, I think once a week. But then we did it live, and we did it every day for throughout the pandemic at noon. Holy crap. We got every single person. Matter of fact, the people you saw, on CNN talking from the Cleveland Clinic, I can't remember the doctor's name. We had him on the show. We had the presidents of every brand on the show. And just everybody came. I mean, we were in sweatshirts and we were all like, oh my God, what's happening? Like the first day. We were all dying, literally dying. Like we didn't know, but being able to talk to everybody every day and keep that going. We go to a conference or I walk through a hotel and they say, hey, you kept me going. And this is from high level people. You kept us going, and one person actually admitted to me, a president of one of the company goes, we thought we knew what we were doing, but we didn't know what the hell we were doing, but nobody knew what the hell we were doing. So watching your show made us realize they're just as close as we are. We're just trying to, put bubblegum on this and figure it out and do the best we can do. So that was really enlightening. So any insight I got from how you go into a post-pandemic world to this day, because we're still doing the podcast, is from the podcast. It's from talking to everyone, from a sales manager to the president of Hilton, and the CFO of Hilton or whoever, and a lot of management companies. So I would say that if you're not focused on technology, you're done, straight up. Because at first, we're like, oh, we don't want to take hotel jobs away. Well, guess what? No one wants them. So they're wonderful. And you should, right now, if you're listening to this, you should run to a hotel and get a job, because you can be CEO of that company by tomorrow. Having people come on my podcast and having everyone from sales managers to CEOs come on and talk about during COVID. And even now, I really understand what's going on. And at the end of the day, number one priority is technology. If you don't have technology and you're not focused on technology, you're done. Because people that wanted the jobs before don't want them now. And so you don't need as many maybe front desk agents. You don't need as many people maybe in the lobby or name a department in revenue management. So if you're not fixated on being able to come up with great technology that people want, you're going to be done in 5 years. In 5 years, you're not going to see a lot of front desks unless you're in the really, really first-class hotels. You're not going to see a lot of people cleaning rooms every day, and you're not seeing it now. So you're going to start seeing AI used in a whole new way. With that said, 25% of our industry is never coming back. So we're not taking jobs away. We're just changing the job, and we're trying to kind of take up for the people not coming back. So technology is number one. And number two, do not get into the hotel business because you like people. Okay, you can go into the restaurant because you like food. You can go to a restaurant. Me, you, and three cousins could go and open up a restaurant for $500,000, right? We all invest a little bit, and we have a restaurant. I can see the kitchen and the dining room, and I can see my customer, and I can see the parking lot. And I can see it all. But the reason 80% of people, or 90% of restaurants, I should say, in 5 years go out of business is because they don't have enough cash flow to see them through the first 6 months or a year, and then they get into fights with the people they invested with, right? The hotel business doesn't work that way. The hotel business, you need real money, you need real resources, you need real people that really know what they're doing, or you will get blasted. So many people, and I won't mention anybody, but one comes to mind, invested so much money because they had so much money and they had no idea what they were doing. And you lose a lot of money that way, right? It's like a boat. If you don't really know what boating is, what's the first day and the last day of your favorite days of owning a boat? And same thing with the hotel business. The good news is there is a lot of help out there. The good news is that if you're working with a good brand and a good management company, they help you get out of your own way.
So tell our audience, like, what do you got coming out now? You got a new show coming out, and what's that about? Like, what's going on with you now?
We're working with American Hotel Lodging Association to do a hotel called Hotel All-Star Making a Cut, which is based on trying to get people jobs in the hotel business. We show you beautiful hotels like we did in 5 Star Secrets, but then we compete for a job. So we have 2 shows where we're doing something that's never been done before. We're doing it by raising money to get the show done. Typically, you would have a concept, a format, and a known person. And my production company was just up for an Emmy for a documentary called Restless Billionaire for HBO Now. So you have the best people doing it, but the landscape has changed. So going to Scripps or Discovery or Warner or HBO, it's not the same. It's not the same. They're not interested in this type of show right now. So having it funded and then having control of where we're going to put it is what we're in the middle of right now.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what's the best way to stay engaged with you and continue to follow you? Like, what's the easiest way for anyone out there in the ether want to know about Sir Anthony?
Anthony at anthonymelchiorri.com. Just Google Anthony the Hotel Guy. You'll find everything. You'll find all my social medias. At Anthony Hotels on social media. My book Show Up is on my website, anthonymelchiorri.com, or through Amazon. And we're just trying to help the industry.
One of the things you do, just really note to our audience, is you personally sign books.
Every one of them. If you go through my website, I will literally take the book out of the box. I will sign my name with a little note to you. I will put it in an envelope, and I will bring it to the mailbox at the end of my workday.
Wow, that's amazing.
There's something cathartic about it for me. I started doing it. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. It's too much.
Right.
And then I literally yelled at myself, and I said, "Dude, you spent your whole life to do this." To have that connection. Like, you're able to write a little note. You're able to bring that little package to the mailbox. It's like making your own bread. Like, everybody got into bread during the pandemic because I made this book with my co-writer, John Walcott. If anybody needs a co-writer, best guy in the world, most patient human being in the world. And it took me and him like 2 years, but it took me probably 10 years to get this book out of me. And he asked me a question before. And when I wrote the book, and I don't think I answered it the way initially meant to answer it, was when you read the book, I talk more about my failures and my early on big swings than I do the last 10 years of my career. I almost don't mention Hotel Impossible until the end of the book, and don't really mention my keynotes or my consulting business. Because I guess the failures and the big swings are so embedded in my brain that the other stuff, like I always tell my kids, when you see a building being built, you see the glass and you see the beauty of the building. But really where it's built is the concrete and the mixture of the concrete. Because you can't build your life unless your concrete works. So early on, everything I did to build that helped me throughout my career. But there's still challenges. You have challenges in your business. I have challenges in my business. But I'll be working till I'm dead just because I love doing it. I looked at my schedule this week, first time in years, and I'm like, my schedule's a little light. I never remember saying that to myself. I was like, and I did that because I'm working with a client. I thought this week I'll be working with him. So I was just like, okay, so my schedule's a little light this week. And that's so unusual for me. And it's terrifying because it's like, okay, we don't like not being busy.
Well, you touched on it. I mean, having a good foundation. That's why I got into personal development years ago. It's working on yourself and developing that good foundation, because the best version of yourself, Anthony, will transpire to helping and inspiring people, which is what you've done. Are you ready to wrap up with our 3 questions? I've been waiting, my friend, for you to come on and to get into this with you. Are you ready?
Let's go. Is it rapid fire questions?
No, it's kind of a little deep thinking we got going on,
okay,
which I think you'll enjoy.
Oh, it's not asking me my favorite curse word?
No. However, you're going to enjoy this. So, okay, you're 58 years old, had an incredible career, brilliant man, especially in the hospitality business. And I encourage everyone to go get his book and follow him. He's just absolutely, not only is he brilliant, but he is a wonderful, kind human being, very authentic. And so you're in Laguna Beach with me. I say, Anthony, get on the couch, kick off your shoes, close your eyes. You can even unwind your tie a little bit, I would say, for you specifically.
I'm not wearing a tie today for you.
I know you're not. I know. But with that being said, go back to when you're 16 years old. Knowing what you know now, if you can go back and rewind the clock a little bit and talk to yourself when you were 16, what advice could you give yourself that you've learned to date to help you in your personal and business life?
Just because somebody's got a position, they're not smarter than you. Just because somebody has influence, they're not smarter than you. Just because some people drive a nice car, live in a nice house, they're not smarter than you. Just because you run a hotel and you have a nice car doesn't mean you're smarter than anybody else. So I would say to myself, you're not as smart as you think you are, and you're not as dumb as you think you are. But I thought I was more dumb than I was smart when I was 16 because I got left back twice, SAT score bad, a whole 9 yards. Then I went in the Air Force, got a college degree. But I would say you're not as dumb as you think you are. But when you start getting some wisdom, don't think you're that smart. So I couldn't have, I just, and then work your ass off. Just, yeah. So I would say, Anthony, you think you have to work hard, you have to work twice as hard as you think. And also, and I say this to my kids a lot, outside of your family and your really dear friends, nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know, you put your oxygen mask on first because you got to take care of yourself first. So I would say, but if I had to just leave it there, I would say I'm not as smart as I think I am or as dumb.
All right. Well, it's our last day on earth. God forbid, together. It's our last meal together.
Mm-hmm.
Your choice, Anthony. What are we eating and what are we drinking?
Okay. If you asked me this question a year ago, it'd be a different answer.
Okay.
Probably something has to do with a very light pasta and a very small amount of Johnny Walker Blue and a chocolate chip cookie.
Okay.
Okay. It would, I've had so many great experiences. We had a great dinner together at the beautiful hotel. I've had so many great experiences, dining experiences in my life that I probably want my last meal to be simple and to be more about taking in that this is it. It's over.
Well, here's the good news. Since the last day on earth, because Anthony is so well known out there, no one's going to walk up to us and bother us at dinner and say, "Oh, I know you. You're the guy from Hotel Impossible."
It's listen, it's a privilege and a pleasure. Where was I yesterday? I was batting, and some guy behind the cage says, "Hey, do you work at so and so high school? I think you were my social studies teacher." And I was like, "Nope." And then another guy on the other team goes, "That's the Hotel Impossible guy, dummy." And he goes, "Oh my God, I love your show." So listen, it's a privilege. It's an honor. And you've met me in person. You've seen me in person. Like, it means nothing. It's all could be wiped away tomorrow.
No, you're just a regular guy, just like everyone else.
You know what? As a regular guy, just listen, when somebody looks at your bank account, does that make you look any more?
Exactly.
Like you have this big real estate company. Who cares? If you're not a nice person, I don't want to hang out with you.
Exactly. So you're right on the money. So in our studio in Laguna Beach, we have a grand piano, we have a drum set, we have electric and acoustical guitars in studio. We have a black door to get into the studio. Anthony, if you could have any band or musician walk through that black door, they can be living or deceased, to play us a song, who is it that's walking through the black door and what song are they playing us?
That's a wonderful song. I mean, that's a wonderful, I'm torn, right? I'm torn by three people. Can I mention three people and I'll give you the answer?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
He's like, I'm taking the wheel. It would be Frank Sinatra, Billy Joel, or Craig Morgan.
Okay.
And Craig Morgan's a country singer and he's a friend of mine. And he's got the voice of an angel. I would want any one of those three people to do it. But if I had to say one person, it'd be Sinatra singing My Way.
Oh, okay. Well,
and if you come to my funeral, Because I can't go to your funeral and you can't come to my funeral.
Right.
One of us needs.
I'm hoping I go to yours.
Yeah, I'm hoping I go to yours. But but the funny thing about that is if you do come, and my way's not playing over my casket, go talk to my wife and tell her to get.
I'll just turn up my phone and I'll load it up for you. All right.
Yeah. So those are great questions, my friend.
Well, Anthony Melchiorri, thank you so much for joining us today on the I Own It Show. What a privilege. Great seeing you.
Great seeing you. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. If you're interested in listening to more episodes on the Ben Reinberg I Own It Show, kick that right-hand button and click subscribe. And feel free to click the like button as much as possible so we can have this incredible content and knowledge that Anthony just dropped on us. And as I say out in the ether, let it go viral. To follow me, go to benreinberg.com. You can follow me on all the different social media platforms. And if you are an accredited investor that is looking to build wealth, look no further. Go to my company, Alliance, cgc.com. Feel free to click on it, invest with us. You can invest in the brand new Alliance Medical Property Fund. It is the hottest #1 commercial real estate fund on the market. Let us show you how we can build wealth and a legacy for you and your family by investing in commercial real estate. Anthony Melchiorri, thank you so much for joining us. It was great seeing you, and have a wonderful week, my friend.
It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg. To hear our past episodes and connect with Ben, visit benreinberg.com.